It's the Fellowship of the Geek Show, a weekly podcast about comics, the comic book industry, and other geek pop culture. Music courtesy of Manny the Martyr. And now, on with the show!
Hey there, everybody. It's the Fellowship of the Geeks podcast. My name is Thomas Chick, and joining me for this episode is Mike Marlowe.
Hey, gang.
Les Webster.
Hello, all.
And Liz Newman.
Hello, everybody.
How are you guys doing?
Pretty good.
Pretty good.
Did I say something before you did?
There was an echo.
Or are you just making fun of me?
Echo?
I was saying I was pretty good, too.
Now,
We just said it at the
pinch
same
hitting for
time.
Pedro Borbon.
Manny
Mota.
Mota. God, it's been too long since I watched that. I need to watch it again.
Uh-huh.
All right, I hope everybody out there is doing okay. So what's been going on in your corner of the galaxy?
Well,
Deep subject.
yeah, I know, so deep. I did get a couple of movies watched. Me and the baby had a girls' night, and I watched If with her. We also watched Mario, but I've already told you guys about Mario.
You watch it with the kid?
No, If, the Imaginary Friends one Ryan Reynolds did.
Oh, it. Yeah, okay. Yeah.
That was cute. I don't know. I guess I know it's a kids movie. Well, I guess it could be a kids movie. It's pretty clean to be a kids movie, but you kind of early on I figured out what was going on with the movie. I won't spoil it, but you kind of you can kind of see where it was going and who was who, and so when it was finally ta-da, this is who he is, it was kind of like, yeah, we knew that.
He was dead the entire time.
Yeah.
Yep, he was. But it wasn't bad. I mean, it was cute for Reynolds,
You seem to
I
think
also
he's
finally
cute in
finished.
general, so.
Yeah. Finally finished Mayors of Kingston. That one's pretty good. They haven't said if it's coming back for a season 4 or not. They did do a pretty good job, which I think the last couple of seasons they've done a pretty good job about wrapping that story up. So there's more they can explore in the 4th season, but if the 4th season doesn't come back, it kind of, brought most of those stories to an end, which I thought was cool. I don't know if it's because, like what our topic is and seeing Renner at his peak, but to me, it seemed like by the end of the season, you could kind of tell he was kind of slumping a little bit more. He was definitely hurting. So I think maybe he needs just a little bit more time off, heal up a little bit better, come back full force. So, but other than that, like I said, yeah, it was pretty good. I'm really liking that one. It's gotten mixed reviews. I think a lot of it is because a lot of people just don't like Taylor Sheridan, which is fine. He's not everybody's cup of tea. So far, I've pretty much liked everything he's put out. So, all but Lioness, that one was kind of stupid. But other than that, I've really liked what he's put out. I did hear that they finally have finished shooting season 5 of Yellowstone. Speaking of Taylor Sheridan, so we should be getting that soon. And, they had talked about, after the whole deal with Kevin Costner and everything else, we're just going to end it at 5. And now they're talking about potentially a season 6. So I think, my personal opinion here, if they find a good way to wrap up John Dutton which was Costner's character on there. If he does that right, they could go on, you know. So hopefully it doesn't end with him dying or something, you know. I mean, he could die. I'm not limiting things here, but to me, I don't. To me, that feels like the cheap way out. So we shall see. But I think if it's done right, it could come back for another season. So we'll just have to see how they did this. But one thing, though, people are blaming him for the delay in this. But I would like to remind everybody about the diva trip that Kevin Costner threw, and you can't really film without your lead. You know? So he may have caused some of these problems, but he definitely wasn't the root of all these problems, you know. So
Well, they could have just shot him going up the stairs and then never explain why you never see him again.
yeah. Well,
His name Chuck?
Yeah.
I think Taylor Sheridan was kind of holding out for Costner to do the right thing. You know, you have a contract, you agreed to this. You know, now all of a sudden you've got your own little pet project and you're going to leave something that you're contracted to do your, you know, whatever he said it was, his life's passion or whatever, you know. But, I mean, hey, that's great, and I'm not going to discourage people for following your dreams or doing something you've dreamed about. But when you have a contractual obligation somewhere, you need to honor that first and then go on. You know,
They bought their tickets. They knew what they were getting into. I say let them crash.
Yeah. Yeah. So and then I heard the whole movie bombed, so kind of makes you wonder what he did it for. And now he's backtracking, you know. So it's like, whatever. We know how it played out in the public eye. Yeah. So hopefully we'll get that soon, and they'll go ahead and renew Mayors of Kingston for season 4. I know he still has what was it, Ranch 666? Is that what it was called, Phil? Ranch 666 or the Texas Ranch?
No, 666.
Whatever it is. It's like 999 or whatever it is. That one's supposed to be pretty good. They kind of showed us in Yellowstone how that one was going to go. And I think Taylor Sheridan actually bought the ranch here because it's like after a well-known Texas ranch and everything else. And I think he bought it. So.
I've been watching Sanford, so.
Yes, he has. Yeah, watching Sanford and Son at night. Some of them are okay, but some of them it's like, man, Lamont he was an asshole to his dad. You know, not saying that Fred was probably the easiest person to live with, but a lot of times it was like, dude, that's just being an asshole, you know. It's yeah. So, yeah, that one's been a trip. Definitely walk down memory lane. But if you want to walk down memory lane too, Peacock does have all of that, which I've been trying to get him to finish Mayors, and he's watching Sanford and Son instead. So.
Yeah, well, there's no accounting for taste.
Right.
In either direction, really.
Yeah, that's about it for me.
And Les, thank you for picking up on the Chuck reference. Appreciate it.
Oh, thanks. Very good.
One of a long list of shows I never watched. That's okay.
Wait, you didn't watch Sanford and Son?
No, I didn't watch Chuck.
Oh.
That's actually a Happy Days reference.
Oh.
He's seen it.
There we go. See, I didn't watch.
Yeah, Chuck was the older brother that just kind of disappeared after going upstairs.
Yeah.
He was in like a couple of episodes in the first season, and then he just was gone.
Yeah, he got up from the dinner table and went upstairs, and we never saw him again.
Mm-hmm.
Never even talked about him.
Yep.
Everyone says what, Fonzie took his place?
No. Fonzie was already.
Fonzie was already there. They just expanded him because he was so popular.
Yeah.
At one point, it was they almost renamed the show Fonzie and Happy Days. That's how popular he got.
Crazy. He was pretty good in the show. Why don't you watch that one again? Happy Days. It's not as racist as what you're watching now.
Okay, Mikey, your turn.
Yeah, your turn. Poor Phil gets me in trouble over here.
Oh, thank goodness I can't top that. Wow. See, we're getting, this is
well said.
Yeah,
said.
well spoken, right. Clear and concise.
That was a mouthful.
Oh, it was a mouthful of something.
I agree with Gabby Johnson.
I didn't get a humph out of that guy.
Okay, so what I was trying to say was this is the start of the time of year when I start doing prep work for October. So it's kind of the time of year when I don't have as much to talk about because watching 2 movies in a week is a stretch for me because I'm slow. So for the sake of not spoiling October episodes, basically all I really did was I got to play D&D this weekend for the first time in like 3 months. So that was fun.
Ah.
Yep.
You're having a life without us again. What the hell?
After 3 months, yeah. We ended up accidentally taking the summer off. I think our last session was in May. And then everybody was busy in June, and then I was super busy in July, and so it just never happened until near the end of August, because that's how that works. We end up waiting until Bill gets back to school before we can start again.
Because that makes sense.
Absolutely. Well, it made sense for everybody but him, obviously, but everybody else was busy all summer. I had to deal with kind of a last hurrah with the kid.
But you had fun, right?
It was his last high school summer. Sure.
You sounded positive on that.
Let's go with that.
I mean, individually, some of the stuff we did was fine, was good, was fun, but that there was so much of it in a 6-week span was kind of a lot. It involved a lot of going places and doing things. And y'all know how I feel about that.
Yeah.
I don't want to go places. I don't want to do things.
You need a Brandon.
Oh, no, I will get made to do so. That's not a wish. Wish it was that easy.
What the hell?
Well, yeah. I agree.
Lacy.
Give him hell, Lacy. Give him hell.
Lacy Johnson is right.
God, she's right here by my head.
Oh, man. So, yeah, that's what I got. Whole bunch of nothing that it is.
All right. Let's top that.
Well, today I watched two movies. One that I shake my head over. Both were on Tubi. The first one was Planet of Dinosaurs, which is hokey as hell. But you know, it's rated. So I took a look. It was not really good. It was like a 1967 movie. And in it were no known actors, no future actors, nothing. But I drudged through it. The second one I really enjoyed because it is part of a series of movies. This was Topper Returns. And I loved Topper. I thought that was an outstanding movie. It's a comedy. And in Topper Returns, you once again have a dead body whose spirit comes back, and Cosmo Topper can see these spirits and he can talk to these spirits. So everybody else is wondering what the hell's going on. But this one had Joan Blondell and Eddie Robinson. And both of those people were very, very funny. Eddie Robinson played Rochester on the Jack Benny Show, both on radio and on TV. And in fact, he makes a reference to Benny in this movie, saying something like, "I don't have to work for you." He was the chauffeur for Topper, and he was getting bugged because of the spirits. He said, "I don't have to work for you. I can go work for Jack Benny." So it was pretty funny. If you get a chance, find that one on Tubi and take an hour and 15 minutes, hour 30 minutes, something like that. And it's really funny. It's well written, and it still has the taste of the original Topper. So that was about it for me.
Okay.
Interesting.
Yeah. I hadn't seen the original one, so I'll need to see that one too. Well, for me, yeah, I need to start getting ready for October myself. So I'll be doing that here next week or so. But I did catch a documentary. I saw it on YouTube, but I know it's on several streaming sites. It's entitled Woman in Motion. Have any of y'all seen this one?
I don't think so.
What's it about?
Not that I'm aware of.
The story of Nichelle Nichols.
Oh, no, I haven't seen that yet.
And it's her involvement with NASA. I mean, it goes over life story and all that, but it also talks about how in 1977 NASA was really having a hard time trying to recruit people. And I forgot how she got involved. As she approached them and said, "How come I don't see anybody of color or women?" And their response is, "Well, you got 4 months. Let's make that happen." And in the 4 months after doing a rather intensive blitz of lectures and interviews and all that, she got about 8,000 people. And out of that 8,000 people, 35 were chosen, and that's basically the beginnings of the space shuttle program.
Damn,
Interesting.
awesome.
So I knew she had ties to NASA. I just don't remember. I didn't remember knowing this. I know that the original Star Trek crew have always had ties to NASA and have always been kind of very pro space exploration and all that. But I just didn't realize how tied she was to them. It's a really interesting documentary. I will warn you. I mean, this may not apply to some people, but it definitely hit me hard because I remember there is a little tough part where they talk about the Challenger explosion and how that affected her. I mean, she broke down crying talking about it, and she's like, I can't talk about it anymore. And yeah, that was tough because I mean, like half the crew was people she recruited. They were people that she knew extremely well. They were dear friends. So, but it's really interesting. I highly recommend it. There's something else I didn't know, that she made a guest appearance on a show called The Lieutenant, which was created by Gene Roddenberry. This was like early 60s, and the episode that she was on dealt with racism and all that, and surprise, surprise, the episode was never aired.
Huh.
But that was how Gene was introduced to her, and they became good friends and all that. And he went back to her and says, I'm going to create this show where I can be able to talk about some of this stuff, but I'll be able to hide it in the fact that it's science fiction, and I want you to be part of that show. So he always wanted her to be on Star Trek.
Cool.
Which that I did not know. And of course, they went through the whole thing of her wanting to quit because of her frustrations about the dialogue or her being used and all that. And she runs into Martin Luther King Jr. and says, "Please don't. You just the fact that you're on that bridge means a lot to us. So please stay."
Mm-hmm. Well, and that's a story Whoopi Goldberg tells regularly too.
Oh yeah.
Because she was a big Star Trek fan.
Mm-hmm.
And that was, I mean, yeah, there are black people in the future.
Yeah, there's black people in the future. That's why
That's why she wanted to be a part of it. So how she ended up getting the role on Next Generation.
Yep. So
she had to hound them.
Yeah.
But she got it.
I highly recommend this one. It's a really, really good documentary.
Where did you see this?
It's on YouTube, but I think it's on several different type of different streaming services. Yeah. I think it's in a lot of places.
Cool.
Yeah.
I'll have to check that out.
Yep.
Yep.
I didn't know this actually existed until it hit my suggestion. So like, oh, okay.
I remember hearing about it. It was just sort of in passing, though.
Yeah.
And I've never gotten around to finding it.
I'll locate it and we'll put a link in to the YouTube on the show notes. But I'm pretty sure it's in a lot of places. So. Okay. Before we take our first break, I do want to mention a programming note. No new episode next week. We're taking a week off to kind of rest and recharge our batteries. As Mike has already referenced, got October coming, so there's going to be a lot going on. Especially if you're longtime listeners to the show, you know what's coming, and
if you're not, boy, are you going to love this.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
We got a couple of special stuff coming up too. Special guests coming, and so.
Yep. And it's a holiday weekend next weekend, and Liz is going to tie one on, and once she does that, there's no way we're going to get her to record. So,
Oh, God. Yeah.
it's just better
Yeah.
to take the week off.
Yep.
I'm not sure that they allow computers in the jail anyway. So
Right.
Right.
The only Zoom I'm allowed on is for court hearings.
So, alrighty. So let's go ahead and take our first break, and we'll be back with this week's topic. Welcome back. Let's get into this week's discussion. We are wrapping up movie month. This has been kind of fun.
It has been.
And our subject matter for this week, I did not realize it had been 5 years since this film came out. It seems like it was yesterday, and seems like it was forever ago. if that makes sense.
It does.
Given the pandemic, of course it makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the film I am talking about is Avengers Endgame. It's been 5 years since we wrapped up the Infinity story arc.
Which to date, I still think has been the best phase for MCU. This should have been their farewell kiss. You know?
I understand what you're saying, because yeah, after watching that, I'm like, it's really going to be kind of hard to equal to say nothing about trying to top it.
Yeah. Well, how long did this phase last? Is it like 10 years or something?
Yeah.
So for the fans, it was kind of, we've been building up all this time, and this is it. And what was the one before this? The Avengers.
Infinity War?
Infinity Wars. That one was awesome too. But this was kind of we were all holding our breath. We were like, who's gone? You know, what the hell? You know, good guys don't lose. What the hell is this? You know, so I think Marvel came in and was like, here you go. You know, all the little nods they made to the fans all throughout the movie. You know, just simple things of like Captain America with Thor's hammer, or, you know, after the first one, the fans went crazy and was like, oh, Thor should have went for the head. And he makes a comment in the movie of, you know, I should have went for the head, and cuts his head off. So, you know, I think Marvel did a really good job with this one. I mean, it had its moments that were kind of cringe, but I think every movie sometimes does. But it wasn't enough that ruined the whole, you know, what they were trying to tell us. And you could tell this was the ending to a story that they took 10 years to tell us. Which is why I believe the other phases just haven't worked. They didn't have it planned, and all the love and attention that went into this first phase, we're just not seeing that in the other ones. And I think it's because after this hit, it was kind of, well, what do we do? What do we do? They want more. We gave them our Opus D, and they want more. So, but I liked it. I'm sure Mikey loved it being time travel.
Is it? I don't know.
Yeah.
To be honest, never saw it.
You haven't seen this one?
No.
It's pretty good. I mean, like I said, when you put it together with Infinity Wars, this picks up right after that one ended. And Infinity Wars, we lost half the superheroes, and like some really good superheroes, you know,
Well,
Spider-Man.
we lost half the universe.
Yeah, you know, Spider-Man was gone. Doctor Strange was gone. Black Panther was gone. I think Scarlet Witch, was she gone?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, just quite a few of our A-list guys were gone. Which is honestly one of the first times that I cried. One of the first times I cried in this movie was when Iron Man got to see Spider-Man again. That was just too, to me, that was the whole reason he did what he did. I don't think they would have gotten him involved with, helping them with the time travel thing if he had not lost Peter Parker. But to him, that was that one regret that he knew he was always going to have if he didn't try. And it's still weird seeing the Hulk that way.
Professor Hulk.
Yeah. I mean, it was kind of cool during, what was that, Ragnarok that they did that? But I don't know. It's different. It's not bad. It's just different.
Les, your thoughts?
I enjoyed it, but I also think that the villains could return just like the heroes returned.
Yeah.
So I don't think that he is totally out of the way. Thanos is not gone yet. So I thought it was well written. I thought it was pretty strong. But I also had problems within the fight scene. 3-hour movie, it takes them 2 hours before the first fight is even shown. But during the fight, you have these sentimental, touching moments, and I'm going, really? No.
Right. You got time for this?
I'm sorry?
You're in the middle of a war. You got time for this?
Yeah. Yeah, all of a sudden you want to hold somebody and hug them and kiss them? No, thanks. Just keep going.
But had he have not, he would have missed his chance. He died before Spider-Man got back to him a second time.
Yeah, but to me it was more tragic to see Black Widow pass.
That was wow. Yeah, that one hit too pretty hard.
I still have issues with that whole thing. Because the whole premise is that you get the stone when you sacrifice something you love, and they were trying to sacrifice themselves. I was just like, is that really how that would work? I don't know. That doesn't make sense.
I think it was more of like a selfless love that you would give yourself for, at this point, half the world. But to her,
well, let's be honest. Clinton was doing it so he can get his family back.
Yeah, for sure.
It was more of that than bringing the entire half of the universe back. Let's just be honest there, because when he lost his whole family, he went dark.
He did.
He went very dark.
Which understandable,
But I just okay, well, I'm going to sacrifice myself. No, I'm going to sacrifice myself. No, you can't do that. I got to do it. It's just like, okay. I just still had a problem how that all worked. Because in Infinity War, remember, Thanos sacrificed Gamora.
Yeah.
And I'm like, okay, so apparently he loves Gamora. I was never really given that impression, but okay, I can go ahead and swallow that. But I don't know. I really had an issue with that.
Yeah.
So,
I think for her, though, it was her love for him. He, like, saved her, you know? And when his family disappeared and he went on the dark end, she couldn't save him from that like he did her, you know? So I think for her, it between the two, outsider looking in, it made more sense for her to die. You know, she was, after the whole snap thing, you could tell she was having a hard time with it. She never really found her footing. It, you know, I think for her, it helped her, you know, she died, but it helped her kind of set things right again and make where her place was again, you know. But for him, she didn't want him to die. He had a family he was doing this for. So it to me, it made more sense for her to be the one than for him to be that one.
I don't know. I just had an issue with that. I mean, I love the film.
Mm-hmm.
It was a great way to end everything, and everybody had their own moment and all that kind of stuff. You talk about how well it was planned and all that. One thing I kind of had an issue with, excuse me, was, and I'm not going to complain about the character. I'm not complaining about the actress. I'm not complaining about all of that. I'm just talking about how it was introduced. Captain Marvel. I think her film should have been introduced earlier in the timeline.
Way earlier.
Instead of just saying, well, this is a flashback from 20 years ago, and here she is, and then, oh, by the way, she's about to show up in the next Avengers film, and she's going to be the one that helps
saves
turn
everyone.
Ties.
Yeah.
You know, it just...
her reasoning made sense of, you know, hey, there's other things going on in the world. But
no, I get that.
This was a war that was going to end half of civilization in the universe. What in the whole freaking universe could be more important than that?
No, I understand her importance to be there, but the thing is if
no, I'm talking about the first time when they fought the first time and he snapped his fingers. Where was she? And she said, "Well, it was, you know, there's other things happening in the universe." Okay, but this was a war that was going to take out half the universe. Why was she not there the first time then?
Because she didn't know. She didn't know what was going on. I mean, she just happened to encounter the ship, and has Tony Stark and Nebula. She just happened to come across it and go, "Oh, you're an Earthling, so let me take you to Earth."
Yeah, at the end of the universe. Yeah.
So, but
I'm with you. Way earlier, so we could have known a little bit more about her and maybe invested a little bit more in her.
It just seemed like she was forced in there.
Mm-hmm.
Like, okay, well, we got to have her in there to help turn the tide. Well, but nobody knows who the hell she is, so we got to introduce her movie. And it's going to be right there just before we need her in the Avengers film. I'm like, yeah, that seems like piss poor planning.
Yeah,
could have introduced her 3 or 4 movies earlier, have her film, and then, yeah, I mean, everybody's going to be talking for a couple of years going, why has she not shown up again? Well, she said she's,
been busy.
Y'all are taking care of this one planet. I'm taking care of the rest of the universe. So, excuse me.
Yeah.
I kind of had my hands full. It just seemed like she was forced in there, and that does not help with all the opposition that's been thrown at that character from the get-go.
Or her likability.
Yeah.
I mean, at that point, honestly, Iron Man was like the golden boy, And then now all of a sudden, no, you're not. She is. And of course the fans were kind of like, wait, what? Who is this? But yeah, I think if we would have known about her beforehand a little bit sooner,
Yeah.
then like you said, right before this one,
Yeah.
it would have been better recepted.
I mean, it wouldn't have solved everything, but
No.
it would have made things a little bit more acceptable.
Yeah.
Really easier to swallow it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And like I said, it wouldn't seem like it was.
Well, and especially for people who aren't familiar.
Yeah.
I mean,
Well, and then
you're hitting
people who
the
see her
vast
movies.
majority. I mean, you're making $2 billion on this movie. That's a lot of non-comic fans watching this movie.
Mhm.
Right.
So you need to establish the character a little better.
Yeah.
Well, to me, she kind of came off a little show-offy too.
She
Just
was
the way
supposed to.
Right.
With
But
that kind of power, it's kind of hard not to.
Right, and she was cocky to
here,
start
once
with.
again, though,
Yeah.
she came in kind of being cocky to these characters we've had 10 years of development with.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah, no, I
So
agreed.
It was kind of a, who the hell are you? I mean, she's badass, don't get me wrong. She definitely helped win that, but...
And you can set her up
know.
as a stranger to them without her being a stranger to the audience.
Right.
Yeah.
By doing exactly what you guys both just suggested.
Yep.
Debut her movie 4 years sooner.
Yeah.
Drop her movie in 2014 or 2015 instead of 2018.
Put her in a cameo here and there, Yeah,
even if it's just
so
in
at
the
least
background.
people weren't... Because given the reception of her movie and how close it was to this movie, how many people going into Endgame had watched it? I hadn't,
Yeah.
So it was kind of, to me, like I said, she shows up and it's like, who the fuck is this?
Right. She should be doing a brief cameo in Guardians 2.
Yeah.
Something. Yeah.
And preferably that would be after her movie so that people would recognize her.
And keep her fresh,
Right. So that people know she's out there, even if the Avengers don't know she's out there.
Yep.
Right. Yep. Agreed.
Yep.
It's really easy to figure this stuff out 5 years after the release, isn't it?
Oh, yeah. Hindsight and all that.
Okay, I'm rewriting this movie. I haven't even seen it, so,
Yeah.
it's all good.
You're doing a good job, though.
Well, whatever. I'm just trying to tell a story here. That's all.
Les, what do you think about that?
I believe that she was introduced at the right time because I think that she was introduced to set up that series of movies. You're talking about phases. That was why she was introduced then instead of right after the Captain America movie.
They were getting ready for phase 2.
Yeah.
See, now the trick here is that keep in mind that the phases don't fit this perfectly.
No,
Endgame
I
was the end.
understand that.
Endgame was the end of Phase 3,
Yeah.
not the end of Phase 1.
Right. Yeah. Well, wasn't there an Avengers movie at the end of each phase, though?
No, because this is the 4th Avengers movie. And
Was it?
it's the end of Phase 3.
You're right.
I only know this because I looked it up
Civil
on
War.
Wikipedia earlier. Civil War, I believe, was the end of, it was in Phase 2.
Yeah.
Yeah, and right before Infinity Wars. Because when Infinity Wars started, you still had Tony and Captain America still kind of on
But
opposite
Infinity
sides
War came
because
out
of
in
what had
18.
happened.
I don't think Infinity War was the end of Phase 2.
Oh.
I thought Civil War was, honestly.
Yes.
But I could be wrong.
Could have been.
Yeah, I think Civil War is. I think you're
But
right.
I mean, there's also a certain point
it's-
at which you kind of can't separate them I
No.
mean, effectively, Captain America: Civil War is also an Avengers movie in its own way.
Right.
I mean, to an extent, they all are, but
Hmm.
there are like a core of, I don't know, maybe 12 of these movies some are some very close, very near satellite of the Avengers storyline. And there's like another 10 that aren't, that are nearby but not directly related.
Yeah.
Again, I stopped watching about halfway in, so tell me if I'm wrong, but that is how I understand it.
Yeah.
I thought the inclusion of Captain Marvel was specific. It was well needed, although the scene where the females decide that they're going to band together, that was a little much,
Yeah.
but it was effective.
Yeah. Got it
I'm
where it
sh-
needed to be.
I'm sure it got the female watchers excited to see that. And it
No,
was kind
not
of
really.
exciting at a degree. But yeah, the overall story did not really lack in storyline. It just lacked in the idea that it was going to be a frickin' long movie.
Yeah.
That thing wasn't it as long as Ben-Hur? Thereabouts?
So it was 3 hours and 1 minute.
Yeah, 181 minutes.
And
Ben-Hur
everyone
might have been a
was,
few minutes longer than that,
Yeah.
actually, but not much.
Yeah. Because I remember watching that from the second row.
Was it Meet Joe Black? Wasn't it like 3.5 or something?
Oh, well, the director's cut of Return of the King was almost 5 hours.
Yeah.
And the one that dropped in the theaters was over 3.
right.
So, yeah, there have been long movies.
Yes.
I enjoyed this one.
Hmm.
It just makes me angry to know that Marvel followed it up with crap. Some of their movies were just horrible.
Yeah. Well, you almost feel like they ran out of steam. I hate to bring up Supernatural, but it was
No,
kind of
you
like with
don't.
Kripke. He had a story from the beginning to the end wrote out. Even if it wasn't wrote out, it was in his head. He knew how it was going to end. He knew what was going to have to happen in the middle, and he knew the perfect ending. Well, once you got to the end of season 5, he was kind of like, well, hell, I don't know where to go from here because I told my story, you know, and another guy, Robert Singer was it Robert? I can't remember his name. Chuck had to come in and pretty much finish the other 10 seasons because Kripke was kind of like, I don't know what to do. I've told my story. So I kind of feel like that's what Marvel did. They told their story. They knew at the very beginning of this, here's what we want to do. Here's the beginning of it. We're going to tell them who these guys are. We're going to build it all up to this. And this is going to be our swan song. And that's kind of what Endgame is. It's the swan song. So after that, everything else kind of feels like
Like, where is
leftovers.
this going? Right.
Yeah,
It's like they
because
got to the end of their story and they like kind of forgot to come up with a new
well,
story.
they didn't know where to go from there. We told the story we wanted to tell, um, you know, which there's no shame in that because what they gave us for 10 years, you guys said, was amazing. It was well thought out. There was a lot of care put into the characters and building them up, and some of them they built them down. Um, it was like a love story. But then after that, it's kind of like, well, hell, we killed, you know, we killed them. We left them in other times. Where do we go from here?
Just keep putting out bigger and flashier spectacles and hoping that people won't realize that there's no story anymore.
Yep.
Unless they're building up to something that they have done an absolute terrible job of hinting at up to this point. Which, hopefully, but
I
then
don't know
again, they've
where would it go
greenlit 2
from
more
here?
Avengers movies, so we'll see
Yeah,
how that ends up playing out.
yeah.
They better come up with something.
Well, because now I feel like I don't know if what they'll give us now will be as good because now it feels like,
Yeah,
well,
they set the
hell,
bar
all
really
this
fucking
other
high.
failed, you
Yeah.
know.
They set the bar really high, and
They
Yeah.
did.
now they're gonna have to figure out how to play with that,
Yeah.
how to work around that.
Or how to use their and seeing the other problem, not that it was a problem, they used the cream of the crop for the first 10 years. These were characters people knew. That some of them were everyday names, so it was easy to tell that story with people who people knew. Well, now you get into this other part, and now we're getting like 10 Rings and Marvels and this other stuff, and it's kind of like, well, who the hell are these people? Well, their comics didn't sell well, so why are you making movies out of them? No offense, but it is the B list. So
Did you know who the Guardians were when they showed up?
nope. I didn't know who. Yeah, I didn't know who they were at all. So I see where you're going with that. But the way they wove them in kind of made you like them. It wasn't, here they are and they're a badass and I'll take it. And I think that was James Gunn, right?
Yeah.
I think
Yes.
he's always had a knack of taking these underrated, undervalued characters and making them really shine. Hell, he put Starro in Suicide Squad. Who the hell does that? He does, So I think that was partly, I think part of that success was because of him and how he sees and tells the story. But yeah, Guardians was also his last over at Marvel. The third one,
Yeah.
which I liked that one too.
Which was also
But see,
post Endgame.
yeah, and see, these were characters I knew nothing about, and he made me like them. He made me care about them.
I'll let you in on a little secret, Liz.
Mm-hmm.
They completely reinvented Tony Stark for these movies.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
That was not Iron Man. That was a different character.
Well, which is why I think who they picked to play that character was spot on. At that time, Junior was in the process of rebuilding and rebranding and trying to get a second chance too, up until, maybe a couple of films before this, he was kind of, blackballed in Hollywood because of the drug use and the partying and, things that happened to kid stars. So I felt like by changing him up and pretty much this brought, Robert back, he's now, people no longer associate that image he had with what it was,
Oh yeah, that relationship was absolutely wonderful for both sides.
Yep.
No question.
Redemption.
Right. It was a redemption. It was kind of, in a way, a redemption story in both directions.
Yes.
It was a redemption story for Downey, and it was also kind of a new beginning, wiping the slate clean for Iron Man.
For Iron Man. Well, because wasn't Iron Man in the comics kind of like the person that Junior was before?
No.
Wasn't he like an
No.
alcoholic?
He
Well,
he had drinking problems, but not
Yeah.
anything like, it was not like he was not a wild partier at all.
Yeah.
He was like the scary stay at home all the time drinking guy.
Yeah.
And that was I mean, that was introduced later to the character. Later as in several years after the character was created. Like in the 70s, wasn't it? Correct me if I'm wrong, guys. Maybe even
more
80s.
Yeah, it was
Yeah, so
80s
even later.
because it was Rhodey in the Iron Man suit for Secret Wars, the first Secret Wars.
Yeah.
And that's 84.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that all was added later, and you could accuse Marvel of trying to make an effort to make Stark a little more anti-hero-y because it was the 80s and because,
Add some personality because I mean he was pretty much there was really no attempt to do anything to Stark to give him a personality because the whole focus was the armor.
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying?
Mhm.
So, when Tony Stark's Tony Stark, he's the millionaire, he's the genius and all that. I mean, and that was it.
Right.
So,
he's an
He's
engineer.
Batman in
Yes.
an orange suit.
He's not even. Yeah, Tony
Well,
Stark
he's
is
not
not
even
even
that.
as interesting as Bruce Wayne.
Right, yeah.
And
Because with Bruce, they did the whole thing of him being the
the
playboy
millionaire playboy.
but also being a philanthropist, which, I mean, I think Tony did a little bit of that, but it's definitely not the playboy.
But he was a lot quieter about it.
Yeah. So, if anything,
Yeah, so
yeah,
they swiped liberally from Bruce Wayne when they invented Tony Stark in 2009.
yeah.
Yeah.
And, it worked.
It did.
Mainly because, like you said, Downey just fell right into that sucker.
He did.
It just became natural for him.
Yeah, he took the ball and rolled with it, and
And
Marvel liked what he was doing.
Did
Yeah.
a phenomenal job. He really did.
I think all of the casting has been spot on in this. But yeah, definitely him.
Hmm. He was a big part of it. I mean, there's a reason why they put him in there first, because they knew they were going to make him as flashy as hell at the beginning.
Yeah. Well, and before he was, I hate to say blacklisted. He just became someone they didn't want to work with anymore. But he had some pretty good movies and stuff.
Sure.
I remember him in teenage movies.
Yeah, back in his Brat Pack days.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And what was that? Below Zero or
Less than zero.
Less than Zero? Yeah.
Zero Squared.
So he was kind of diverse. He could play the goofy part. He could play the dramatic part, and
he was in Weird Science.
Yeah. But yeah, I think definitely boosted him for sure. Well, now it's kind of cool because how awesome would it be to know that in your life you fucked up? You fucked up so bad, but to get a second chance, and now you have kids who look up to you and you're a role model to them compared to where your past used to be, To me, that would be amazing to know that you just feel like you got a second chance, but you actually see you got a second chance and you made a difference, which is crazy because it's just movies, but it did. He's made a difference,
Yeah, and it's just movies, but the deal is it's an image.
Yep.
And that's the image people see.
Yep.
And so he gets associated with that. I mean, does he feel that way? Who knows? Hopefully he gets some enjoyment out of it.
Yeah.
But it does have an impact.
Well, I think he enjoys what he does with the interviews and stuff you see.
I haven't asked him, so I don't know.
Right. Well,
he can come on the show anytime. We'll talk
Entertainment
about it.
Tonight, and everybody else has. But I think when you enjoy what you're doing, you can't help but to be good at it. So I think he really enjoyed this and really, he was Iron Man for 10 years,
Mm-hmm.
It was hard to kind of separate the two there for a while. But, like I said, we also have Chris Evans as Captain America, who I think they nailed it. Chris Hemsworth, Thor, freaking nailed it, Mark Ruffalo was definitely better than Ed Norton.
Oh, I don't know.
It's, they definitely...
Ed Norton was a fun transition between Bill Bixby and a modern Hulk.
Yeah.
I mean, was it
And
any more than that? No, not really. But that was as much a function of the story as anything else. The story just didn't work in that movie,
yeah.
and it worked even worse in the first one.
Well, and then the CGI for Hulk, they just hadn't quite gotten the hang of that yet, you know.
Yeah.
When it seemed like when Mark Ruffalo came along, they had kind of figured that end of it out, you know.
Well, they'd had 2 movies to practice.
Yeah. And each time got better with them as the movies went on, you know.
Yeah.
Did they give us a standalone Hulk with Mark Ruffalo?
Nope.
No.
No.
Because they don't have the distribution rights.
Right, so he's got to be a sidekick, basically.
Yep.
So he rode along with Thor, and there was another one I don't remember.
Yeah, because I mean, Thor Ragnarok is essentially that and Planet Hulk. Because that's the story of Planet Hulk. He was sent to a planet where, and basically became a gladiator.
Yeah.
So. It's because Universal owns the distribution rights.
Mm-hmm. Another side effect of the 90s.
Yep.
Now, to Liz's statement, where do they go? I'm not sure because they've killed off, 2 of their franchises?
Yeah.
As well as Avengers. So they've killed off 2 of their franchises. What do they base their next group on?
From what my gist of things, the multiverse. So what we thought we lost, we may get back.
I don't see that happening, though.
I hope it doesn't happen. But, I mean, we kind of already seeing it happen because we've got Robert Downey Jr. coming back as, Dr. Doom in the next one. So, kind of.
Well, that would give you another Fantastic Four movie.
Yeah.
Which is not the smartest thing either.
No.
Historically speaking, no.
Yeah. They've tried. And tried.
Well, I mean, my thing is, they sold plenty of comics after the initial Avengers wandered off and did other things.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, somebody else comes in and takes over the team.
Well, that seems to be what part of the new Cap film is going to be. You know, President Ross is bringing Sam in and says, I want you to put together a new Avengers team. And they're going to be part of the government or part of the military. That's the I mean, he even mentions that in the trailer that he wants to try once again to make Captain America an actual captain of the military or army or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
But he's also wanting Sam put together an Avengers team, and so that's maybe some of what we see.
Right.
And then of course we got Thunderbolts coming too. And from everything I've been hearing, it sounds like they're going to try to warp it into a Dark Avengers.
Oh boy.
Because think about it, they've got their own Black Widow, they got their own Captain America, and so on and so forth. So we'll see.
Right.
Yeah.
And we'll see if $2.8 billion worth of people show up to see it.
Yeah.
I think that's the trick. I think you got to be prepared for Avengers 5 to only make $1 billion, which is a hilarious statement in its own right.
Right.
Yeah.
Only $1 billion.
Only $1 billion. Yeah.
But the deal is you have to expect it to lose 2/3 of its haul, and also probably get panned a little bit because it's not Endgame. I mean, Avengers 5 is going to not get rated all that well in a lot of circles because it's not Endgame, because there's no way they can make that again. They just need to get themselves used to the idea, and this is a highly corporatized Hollywood studio we're talking about. There's no way they're not expecting it to make more money than Endgame. They wouldn't be greenlighting it if they didn't think that was the case, but they're delusional, as always. And I hope the Russos are smart and talk them into making both films at the same time.
I think that is the intention, but
so
don't
it doesn't
know.
make sense not to release 6, even though 5 didn't do as well as 4.
If I'm remembering correctly, 6 is supposed to come out like a year later, so they have to be filming.
Yeah,
both
they would
of them
have to be.
back.
You can't make the whole thing in a year.
Well, you could, but it could be a bunch of crap.
Right. You'd get Corman's Fantastic Four if you did.
Yeah, you get Halloween 5.
Yeah, and
or his version of the Fantastic Four.
So, well, we'll see. So, all right. Any final thoughts before we wrap things up and take another break?
No.
I think we've solved all the world's problems here.
There you
Yeah.
go.
Yeah.
Yes.
Other than go ahead and watch the movie.
Yep.
But I would also say watch the previous movie so you know what's going to happen in this one.
Yep. And why you should care what's happening in this one.
Yeah, the hard part is watching the other 20 movies too, but yeah.
Yeah. Well, because I think the first half of this movie is kind of dealing with aftermath, you know?
Sure.
So,
Sure it is.
definitely watched Infinity Wars before this one.
And on that note, we are going to take a quick break and be back with Geek News for you. And we're back. It's time for Geek News for You. In this segment, we bring a couple of news items to the table for discussion. This week, it's Mikey and myself. And Mike, would you go first, please, sir?
Oh, sure. And if you've been listening to this show at all for a little while, this particular news item coming from me is not going to surprise anybody. Because I think Tom was trolling me when he posted this in Discord. But anyway, so he found an article that is talking about the most watched streaming services, and the headline is that Tubi viewership is growing and is now tied with Disney Plus as 5th on the list. They put out a top 10 list of streaming services, and it's by percentage of market, I guess. But yeah, Tubi is now tied with Disney Plus for number 5 on the list.
Wow.
Which is just kind of wild. It's the highest free with ads service on the list. Everything else is premium in some way or other. But
I wouldn't troll you.
And I say that, and I guess the number one, what they're calling number one is they're making it specific. They're saying that because number one is YouTube, and so that's obviously it has premium options, but it's free with ads, generally speaking. Everything else down to number 5 is premium. But yeah, he wouldn't troll me, but they were joking with me in the break about how I'm making it go up, as if my one movie a week is moving the needle at all, you know.
Well, it's also the advertising, you know.
I know people who are making the needle move, and I ain't one of them. Trust me.
Don't you believe it?
That is pretty cool, though.
Yeah.
It is.
Yeah.
Tubi is a good place to find stuff, that's for sure.
Mm-hmm.
There is just an unbelievable amount of, I mean, and let's be honest, a lot of it is complete crap. But you're not going to find some of that stuff. The only way you're going to the only other way you're going to find it is illegally. So,
Yeah.
I mean, even the people who are posting crap are still doing a service to the community because they're making it available for people. I mean, that's how reprints get issued. That's how stuff gets collected and put in and sold. I mean, it gets back in the market because people are watching it, and that's why people decide to do that. That's why companies decide to do that. So it really is doing a service to the community,
Yeah.
even if you have to sit through ads for it. Sometimes the same ads over and over again. But anyway.
Yeah, but they're only, what, 15 seconds or a little more?
The
Per
breaks, well, there are some 30-second ones, but yeah, mostly it's 15 seconds. But most of the Tubi ads are 15 seconds. There are some 30s, but I mean, but to do that for 2.5 minutes is a drag sometimes. I mean, sometimes you'll get like 20 or 30 minutes of movie out of the deal, but
Yeah. Oh yeah. There was a YouTube video I watched. He's a scam baiter. He's new to me, but he's been around for a little bit. And this was like a three hour video or something like that. And I swear there was a stretch. It was like every 2 minutes there was an ad. So just as things were getting kind of interesting, a fucking ad interrupts everything. And it went for a good stretch for a good while. And I'm like, oh my God. It was almost to the point where I wanted to stop watching it.
yeah, YouTube, I've noticed that when you watch something longer on YouTube, they will put longer and longer ad breaks in. And there would be a little message that says, we're doing a long ad break so we can not interrupt your stuff. And then bullshit. 15 minutes later, there's another long ad. It's a load, but,
Well, I would rather have that. I'd rather have that than 2 minutes of content and then followed by ads, and then 2 minutes of content and another ads break. And
that's pretty crappy.
That was it was so annoying. It's like I've not seen that anywhere else. I watch a bunch of stuff on YouTube and I don't see that. But the whole thing with the ads, I understand, but and then there would be a video that's 15 minutes long where 6 seconds in, and well, time for ad. Really? 6 seconds?
And
6
I
seconds
swear that
ad.
it's not just about the video itself. I think it's about I think it's watching you. I don't think it's watching the video sometimes, because
It could be.
if you had snuck in like an 8.5 minute video before that and it didn't interrupt you with an ad, yes, I can see it dropping an ad 6 seconds into the next one, because it's going to nail your ass. That's just the way it is. They have to put so many ads in front of you to make their money.
Right.
Yeah.
And so they're going to do that. You can try paying for their premium service where they reduce the number of ads or cut them out altogether, but I mean
They cut them.
They want money for that.
Right.
And I'm too cheap, and I have a mute button on my remote, and I'm fine. So I try not to get too wound up about it.
No, I mean,
the deal is it affects it. Other people get more frustrated about it than I do, and that's fine. I get it.
yeah.
See, I do. That's why I pay for premium.
No, we talked about it before, and
Yeah.
you do, and that's cool.
Yeah, I mean, and to their credit, there's a lot of them where, you watch 5 seconds of it and then you can opt out, and that's great. I appreciate that.
Yeah.
Yeah, you got my 5 seconds. I know what you're talking about. I know what you're trying to sell. Let's move on.
You get credit. I can handle 5 seconds. It's all good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, yeah, that's cool. So, congrats to them. It's a lot of hard work. The fact that they're doing it as a free with ads, and they're competing favorably against
The big dogs.
The big dogs they're charging for their services.
Yeah,
So,
I mean, they're ahead of Max, Peacock, and Paramount Plus. So
Yep.
there you go. Good on them.
Yep. All right. Since we're talking about money.
Oh boy.
Oh boy.
Cha-ching.
On the 16th, there was an auction held by the Prop Store, which I've never heard of this website or place, but they sold a fedora hat that was worn by Harrison Ford in Indiana Jones and Temple of Doom, and guess how much it went for?
$500,000.
I'd buy that for $1.50.
I'd go 80 grand.
Well, Liz was the closest. They went for $630,000.
Wow.
1,000.
And I shot it high to be a smart ass.
Right.
$630,000.
Damn.
And they actually had it estimated going for $250 to $500. So they were surprised how well it went.
Wow.
This was owned by Dean, and I'm going to mispronounce the last name, Ferrandini. He was a stunt performer who passed away last year, and he actually did stunts for Harrison in this film. So that's probably how he got it. So yeah. According to the Prop Store, this fedora was made specifically for the second installment of the Indiana Jones series and matches film shots, production stills, and behind-the-scenes footage of Ford in the village set on location in Sri Lanka, in the minecart chase shot at L Street Studios, and in the river sequence shot in the U.S. That's regarding the hat.
Cool.
So...
That is something.
It is. Wow.
This was not the first Temple of Doom fedora to hit the block. One was available in 2021, and that sold for $300,000. But the previous most expensive hat that was sold was one that was from Raiders of the Lost Ark, and that one went for $500,000. So
That's pretty cool.
yeah, that's a lot of money.
That's what I say. Must be nice.
Wow. Okay. Any special shout-outs or mentions this week?
Now, just a reminder, we're off next week.
That's right.
Yeah.
Sure, we'll come back as we usually do with a super monstrously long episode after that, but, whatever.
Well, we got to tell everybody what we did for Labor Day weekend. So, by the way, happy Labor Day for those who celebrate, which there's usually not a lot going on, or maybe a parade or, a barbecue. Yeah, there may be some sales. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
We'll definitely be getting into the Halloween spirit after that.
Oh, it's already in the grocery stores, man.
No doubt. We were going to go to Starbucks the other day because they have a drink called the Summer Skies Refresher. It is already gone. You know why? Because pumpkin spice latte has already hit out. Yep. It's like, are you kidding me?
Yeah, they hit. There's a Starbucks in the grocery store we go to, and I ran up there to pick up something the other day, and little dude with the green apron and a whole tray full of these little cups comes up to me and says, "Hey, you want some pumpkin spice?" I was like, "No."
Why?
No thanks, man. I'm good.
He gave you a weird look, didn't he?
He kind of didn't know how to react. I think he thought that I was going to swipe half the tray off.
Right.
But
There's
no.
people who don't like it.
Not my thing.
I mean, it's 110 degrees outside. I don't want to be drinking pumpkin spice right now.
Especially not.
I don't
with
want to be drinking pumpkin spice anyway.
Especially not with one, I'm not into flavored coffees, and two, there was a big old wad of whipped cream on top of it, and I'm like, nah, I'm good.
Yeah.
I don't need that.
I said, I think it sucks they already took their summer drinks off, though, you know?
Right, it's still 90 some odd
Yeah.
degrees outside. Come on,
And that
man.
drink was good.
August. Like, jeez.
And then Brandon's like, this is just like water, right? And it's like, it's good. It's got boba in it. It's good.
Well, it's August for a couple more days, so.
Yeah.
Don't get technical. It's still hot.
Yeah.
Oh, I
see,
don't disagree with that.
I honestly thought they busted out the fall flavors like late September.
No.
No.
Before October, but late September, you know. So for me, it was kind of like, wow.
Oh no, I was expecting September 1st, but
Yeah.
it's a bit
I
early.
mean,
August is.
if you're going to the grocery store or any other retailer and you're not seeing Christmas stuff out already, then I'm shocked.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, Halloween stuff's
Well,
out. But I mean, they're already pushing Christmas too.
I think like the big like Walmart is still back to school stuff.
Yeah,
Yeah, but
Once they clear that,
but they have
we'll
Halloween
see
out
Christmas.
too now.
but Christmas too, because I mean,
give them 2 or 3 more weeks, and you'll
Yeah.
see
So-
red and green
so-
all up and down.
someone who used to work at Walmart, I know. I mean, lawn and garden's already been converted over to Christmas. They're already working on that.
Yeah,
Have been
lawn and
working on it.
garden. Shit, I pay
Yeah,
people to do
because
that.
we
for
went
me.
in there. I guess it's been a few weeks now, and a lot of their patio furniture, swings, that kind of stuff was clearance. So you could tell they were definitely getting ready to
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
clear it out. And
Yep. Mm-hmm. Okay, well, we'll move on to our regular shout-outs then. I want to thank Pop Goes the Culture for allowing us to be part of a great little podcast network. We recommend that you check them out. There will be a link in the show notes. We also want you to check out the fine men and women who are kind enough to spread the word of the fellowship on Twitter/X by by sharing our links. And that is Podern Family. The best way to check them out is do a search, #Podern Family as one word. Just scroll through the list, and whatever catches your eye, please click on that link and download the episode. Thank you guys as always. I want to thank Manny the Martyr for supplying the music to our podcast. In the show notes, you'll be able to see a link where you can check out some of their other music. And finally, you, dear listener, thank you for downloading and listening to today's episode. We value your feedback. The best way to do that is you can email us. The email address is email@thefellowshipofthegeeks.net. Or you can go to the website, go to the About Us page, and there is a contact form that you can fill out there. We do have a Discord that you can come join if you'd like. We post a lot of news items, stuff for discussion, stuff to laugh at. We'll do activities, that type of stuff. Sign up for Discord is free. The apps are free in the app stores. We do have an open invite on our homepage. So if you'd like to come join us, please do. On social media, we're on Facebook, The Fellowship of the Geeks. On Twitter and Instagram, we're @Fellowship Geeks. If you'd like to follow our personal Twitter/X accounts, Mike can be found @MikeyGeek. Liz can be found @LN_geek. Les may or may not be found @FakeLesWebster. And I can be found @TomTCGeek. And from wherever you download our episodes, if you'd be so kind as to rate and review the show, it would be greatly appreciated. Anything else before we say goodbye?
Thanks, everybody.
thanks, everybody.
Appreciate you listening.
Thanks for listening, everybody. And once again, we hope you have a safe and fun Labor Day weekend if you celebrate. If not, just hope you have a great couple weeks. And we'll be back to kind of start things up again. Until then, geek on, my friends.
We thank you for listening to the show. Comments, suggestions, and questions can be sent to email@thefellowshipofthegeeks.net. You can follow us on Facebook at The Fellowship of the Geeks and on Twitter at Fellowship Geeks. Until next time,